there's a point that needs to be said, that we mentioned that the Alter Rebbe, that Admor Zaken, was the first to bring this Yefuzah Me'netecha Chutza out into the public. And the source of this is because the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid, they did not write anything. The source of the beginning of the Chassidus was Baal Shem Tov, but he didn't write. Only the Chassidim, only his Talmidim. Same thing with the Maggid. The Tanya was the only time that something was written by the Rebbe himself, and the Tanya, so therefore it's the equivalent of the Avot before Matan Torah, that their impact on the world was only on the spiritual aspects. The idea that you could have a physical matter that is all of a sudden takes on the properties of becoming holy, even though it's physical, didn't exist by them. However, so too regarding the idea that we call the Tanya, the Torah Shebektav. The Torah Shebektav means that the letters in of itself it contains holiness, and therefore we say regarding the Torah Shebektav, one that doesn't understand is nevertheless fulfills the need of learning the Torah. And this is done by, we say regarding that more as I can, that he took him 20 years to write the Sefer Tanya, and he really asked from the print house that they shouldn't make any typos. And this was brought about. We also find that the entire reason that he was released from prison was because prior to being in prison 2 years beforehand, he already printed the Tanya. And that Tanya, and we find also that corresponding to the 53 chapters in the Sefer Tanya, or the 53 days he sat in prison. So perhaps the very reason he sat, when the very reason he was released, was because the impact that Tanya, the good impact that Tanya had out in the public. And again, we're always going to say, because we're speaking about something that's the core, the etzem, we're going to bring out that that the Tanya, the release was done on a Tuesday, and Tuesday is the third day of the week. It was brought about on the third month, Kislev. That's similar to what we say regarding Matan Torah, that it was Yarchit Titlai, L'am Titlai, Araita Titlai, that it was always revolving around the number 3. And also we find regarding in the Rambam says in Sof Hilchot Nerot Chanukah that the entire Torah is for the purpose of peace. Now, the idea of peace is not like what people think is that you obliterate the opponent, but rather it is that an exact opposite. Chibur, to connect, tzvei hafchim, to connect two opposites, polar opposites. That is, and to connect them, and to be cohesive, and to become one, and to become fully into one being. That is called, that creates a third entity. Therefore, number 1 is referring to Shamayim. Number 2 is referring to separation, Aretz. Number 3 is referring to combining two polar opposites into one. And that is the idea of Shalom. That is the idea that the Tanya brings out. So therefore we find that the Tanya has an on one hand it says that there's no person that could be excused of Karov Adavar Ma'od, something that's accessible. On the other hand it says that there's no, the same way that nobody's excused to shake off the work, nobody else is able to say he graduated the work, because it says whoever, as long as the work is within his own nature, so therefore that in itself means that it's not work, it's nature. Therefore, even though that the person, maybe this individual reached heights, and yes, he's an overqualified individual, and he attained places where serving Hashem is comes to him naturally. What's the issue? That means that the call of the Tanya is not excusing anyone. At the same time, the call is so beyond the grasp of any individual, that it's like an endless call for even those people that are already bashamayim, already in a very high level. Another very interesting thing is Tov L'Shamayim. We say regarding Yom Shlishi, Tov L'Shamayim, Tov L'Briot. So that idea exists also within the Sefer Tanya. On one hand, what is Tanya teaching? What is the Chassidut teaching? It's service of Hashem. It's teaching how one must demand and enact from himself the greatest depths of the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So seemingly, it's between you and on high. It's a Shamayim. But on the other hand, the call of the Chassidut is to have Avat Yisrael, to love a single individual and to do physical acts of goodness to the individual. So that brings about that briot, that it's physical briot. So therefore, we find that the idea of three combines opposites, and we find that within the call of the Chassidut in general, and we find it specifically in the Sefer Tanya, and we find that specifically in how the Tanya brings about this idea of instilling a physical letter, seeming a letter, a word. What does it have to do? Instilling with the holiness.